I grew up in a house that loved democracy. My mom was a middle school social studies teacher, and every year for Halloween, she would dress up like a historical figure. One year it was Abigail Adams, the next year it was Lincoln. I have fond memories of my mom running around the house saying, "The British are coming, the British are coming." So when I turned 18, I didn't go buy a lottery ticket. I registered to vote. I have such great memories of sitting around the kitchen table with my parents on my first election, Oregon votes by mail, and I was filling out my ballot. I had this overwhelming sense of pride. I remember sitting next to my parents on our couch the night of the election. We had this big paisley couch sitting in the middle between them. And as the election results came through, I remember feeling devastated. I remember feeling like my entire world had shattered. Oregon's put discriminatory language in our state constitution, defining marriage between one man and one woman. I ugly cried like an 18-year-old for like 12 hours. I had the black mascara running down my face. And I went to school the next day. And as I talked to my classmates, many of whom are coming out for the first time, they said they didn't vote. They didn't vote. And it wasn't because they didn't care about marriage equality or the presidential race. It was because they missed the voter registration deadline. And for 2 months, I was aimless, walking around, just trying to figure out how to fix democracy. And I went to a vegan spaghetti feed. It's Portland, Oregon. And there was a bunch of young people there, and they said, "Hey, get on the bus." I was like, "What's the bus?" It was a bus that took young people and took them to rural parts of Oregon and urban parts of Oregon, basically anywhere there was young people, and started registering them to vote. I learned that 690,000 Oregonians weren't able to participate in the election because they missed the voter registration deadline. So for months, I went around Oregon, crisscrossing it, registering voters. And year after year, we learned that folks were moving. So we'd have to spend more time registering more people. And year after year, it just became a nightmare. So we met with then Oregon Secretary of State and came up with a pretty revolutionary idea. The idea was automatic voter registration. It was pretty simple. You go to the DMV, you get your driver's license, you get your ID, and then you're automatically registered to vote. So we were fired up. We were so excited about this. In 2013, we brought it to the Oregon legislature. It passed the House with bipartisan support and then went to the Senate, and it died by 1 vote. So we were not gonna stop there. We were so pumped to make sure that this happened. So in 2015, we brought it back. Young people stormed the Capitol. They testified, they talked to their legislators. They were everywhere you could go in the Oregon State Legislature. They were there talking about automatic voter registration. And we were the first state to pass automatic voter registration in 2015. Yeah. So in 2016, it was the first election that we had automatic voter registration. Thanks to this law, 220,000 Oregonians were registered.
That's awesome.
And we saw a huge increase. We saw a 7% increase in youth turnout. We saw a 26% increase in people of color. When we were going to knock on doors, we met this man. His name was Charles. He was a disabled African-American veteran who'd served in Korea and Vietnam. Charles had never been registered to vote. His commanders at the time told him that African-American men shouldn't vote. And thanks to automatic voter registration in 2016, Charles voted for the very first time. And while we have these historic victories, we still have about 400,000 Oregonians who still aren't registered. So we went back this legislative session and we introduced legislation that would expand automatic voter registration to Department of Revenue, to folks who receive TANF benefits, to when you register for college classes, you'd be automatically registered to vote. When you go get a fishing license, you would be automatically registered to vote. If you were a veteran, you would be automatically registered to vote. So we are so excited and we're fired up to make sure that every single Oregonian gets registered to vote. We're not gonna just stop with the DMV. And so I'm asking everybody today to go to your state legislatures, introduce this legislation, bring it to the ballot box. Because right now, Donald Trump has an election commission that would make it so that every single voter registration would be thrown out the door. So today, I implore each and every one of you to pass automatic voter registration at the local level and fight against voter suppression. Thank you.